Imagine living in a world where your ability to move freely, provide for your family, and access basic necessities is suddenly stripped away. For Dezi Freeman, this isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It's his reality. And what happens next might leave you questioning where justice truly lies. Dezi Freeman, formerly known as Desmond Philby, has been at the center of a legal and emotional storm stemming from the revocation of his driver's license and gun permit. To him, this wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a direct threat to his survival and the well-being of his family, who live off-grid in a van. He framed this issue in stark terms, equating driving to breathing or eating, essential acts for sustaining life. I need my license so I can drive without fear of being assaulted, violated, or even shot by police, he wrote in court documents. Everything we do depends on our ability to travel, carry goods, and care for each other. But here's where it gets controversial. On a Tuesday earlier this year, Freeman allegedly opened fire on two officers who approached his residence to serve a warrant. Detective leading Senior Constable Neil Thompson and Senior Constable Vadim Dewart lost their lives in the ambush, while a third officer sustained injuries and was airlifted to the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne. Following the attack, Freeman fled into the wilderness, sparking one of the largest manhunts in recent memory. What makes this case particularly complex is how articulate and detailed Freeman's arguments against law enforcement have been throughout his legal battles. His writings reference legislation and emphasize his belief that his rights were infringed upon. At the heart of his grievances is a 2-year suspension of his driver's license, a penalty imposed after he was caught speeding, using a mobile phone behind the wheel, and refusing a roadside drug test in September 2020. By mid-2024, Freeman had taken his fight all the way to the Supreme Court of Victoria, arguing passionately that losing his license would devastate his family's already precarious lifestyle. And this is the part most people miss. Freeman didn't see himself as merely defending his right to drive. Instead, he viewed it as a broader struggle for autonomy and dignity. Without reliable transportation, he explained, his children's homeschooling would suffer. Trips to the snow and swimming lessons for his infant son would become impossible. Even mundane tasks like gathering firewood or transporting fuel grew increasingly difficult, forcing his wife to drive under conditions neither safe nor practical. In one poignant passage, he lamented, "My wife left the Philippines 20 years ago, hoping to escape hardship, only to find herself trapped in an oppressive situation here. Taking my license feels like pushing us over the edge when we're barely hanging on." The story takes another troubling turn when examining Freeman's past interactions with authorities. Court records reveal that during the traffic stop in 2020, he became visibly agitated, calling officers corrupt scum and demanding they leave him alone. A judge later upheld the bulk of his penalties despite appeals, including the cancellation of his gun license due to the same incident. This set the stage for Freeman's escalating frustration, culminating in his dramatic challenge to higher courts. Yet by late 2024, his efforts proved futile when the Supreme Court rejected his final bid to retain his driving privileges. Throughout these proceedings, Freeman maintained a tone of defiance mixed with desperation. He thanked a judicial registrar for their professionalism, but also expressed anger about what he perceived as systemic injustice. The cornerstone of justice in any civilized society, he argued, is the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. However, critics might counter that Freeman had already been convicted 2 years prior for refusing a drug driving test, using a mobile phone illegally, and speeding. Was his continued resistance justified, or did it reflect a refusal to accept accountability? As the manhunt continues, questions linger about whether this tragedy could have been avoided. Could better communication between authorities and citizens prevent such violent outcomes? Or does this case highlight deeper societal fractures around trust, authority, and individual freedoms? One thing is certain. The events surrounding Dezi Freeman will spark debates for years to come. So where do you stand? Do you believe Freeman's actions were a cry for help driven by legitimate grievances, or do they represent a dangerous disregard for the rule of law? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your perspective.